In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Christ is in our midst. You know that before I came to serve St. Athanasios, I served the parish of Saints Peter and Paul in Glenview. And my departure from that parish was unusual in the life of the church. I had a meeting with His Eminence over a year before I left. And we talked about the future of the parish and what that would look like. We were losing one of our clergymen to go and serve the metropolis as the youth director. So there was an opening at the parish, and how did he foresee filling that opening, and how did he want this parish to move forward? This would be the first clergy assignment of his tenure as metropolitan, or first major parish being reassigned. And so we talked about what that would look like. And we left that meeting, and there were two options on the table, both of them equally valid. One, with me continuing in my role and adding an assistant priest, and one with me not continuing in my role and adding a senior priest. We weren't sure which direction we were going to go. Both seemed viable and good options for the future of the parish. And it took 6 months before we had an answer. But I knew what I had to do leaving that meeting. I told myself that I have to minister harder than anyone else, that I have to work and be the first person at the church in the morning before the office staff and leave after all the parish council members, that I needed to be at every single Goya event, at every Philoptochos meeting, at everything the church did, that if it meant for 6 months my family didn't see me, that was the price to pay, to work, to prove that I could do the task that was in front of me. So every morning I woke up reminding myself that I have to work harder than anyone else around me to show my worth. And after 6 months, we made the decision to go with another priest. And towards the end of this period of that 6 months, I reflected on how I'd been carrying myself, how driven I had been, how I was working harder, and reminding myself that if I just work hard enough. But I had forgotten over that 6 months the words of St. Paul. I had forgotten when he turns to the Corinthians and says, "We are co-workers with God." And that there is no foundation that can be built upon except for the foundation which is already laid, Jesus Christ. For 6 months, I woke up and I told myself, I have to work hard. But for 6 months, I forgot to ask God to work with me. I forgot to turn to Him and ask Him to be the one who guides my actions, instead of forcing my will, my drive, and my determination upon Him, to accept those things that I was attempting to will, as opposed to accepting His will and having Him work with me. All night, Peter and the disciples toiled, and they caught nothing. They were unsuccessful because they were in their boats by themselves. And only when they invite Christ into their boat, and only when He tells them to lower their nets to take up a catch, are they actually successful in it. They toil and toil without God, and they get nowhere. This gospel reading and this calling of the disciples is a reminder for us to lose that mindset that I described earlier. Yes, we need hard work. Yes, we need determination. And yes, we need to know where we want to go. But if we assume that we can drive ourselves without God, that the tasks we take up on our own, and that our sheer will, skill, talent, and drive will bring them to fruition and success, then we labor in vain like the disciples or like me. Only when I turned to Christ and said, Lord, thy will be done, not mine but yours, was I actually able, like the disciples in this gospel reading, to leave behind everything and follow the will he had for me. Peter left behind his boats, and he received the keys to the kingdom of heaven. I left behind a former parish, and I found one that has filled my heart more, one that brings me more joy. It's not a comparison, but you understand that this is no consolation. This is the will of God, and this is me being his co-worker, serving him here with joy and grace and gratitude. Waking up in the morning asking, Lord, how can I serve the people of St. Athanasios? Not telling him that I will be better than everyone else because I will work harder to sustain something that might not even be his will. The COVID pandemic has affected all of us, some of us more than others, but many of us in terms of our employment. I know some of our parishioners have lost their jobs. Some have been furloughed. Some have had their hours cut. Some have had their businesses closed. We can run the danger, especially speaking from experience, when it comes to our jobs and our calling and what we do with our life, to think that if I just work harder, I can keep this going. That if I just sacrifice everything else and drive myself and I wake up and I am better than those around me, I will earn my success. And the lesson from today's gospel is only if Christ is in the boat with us, only if we are letting down our nets and doing the tasks and the things that he tells us to do, only, as St. Paul says, if we are co-workers with the Lord. In every act, every task, begin with prayer and ask for the Lord's guidance that his will be done through you. The things that you are about to do will fulfill what he intends for you and for the world around you. That he will give you the strength to do what he desires. And if that is to work hard, then to do it diligently. But to do it knowing that the strength you have to complete your tasks, your assignments, and your callings come from him. For like me and like the disciples, we can toil all night, but unless we are co-workers, his will not be done in our lives. Amen.